Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something that might just shock your spirit if you have these signs in your life. You are very lucky. I'm not talking about lottery, ticket, jackpot, billionaire type of luck. No, no, no. I'm talking about the kind of luck that can't be bought, can't be faked, and can't be duplicated. Number one, if you have peace of mind when you sleep. Why, you are not lucky, you are blessed. You close your eyes, no racing thoughts, no regret playlist playing in your head at 3 a.m. That's not ordinary, my friend. That's luxury. People out here sleeping with one eye open, battling imaginary arguments like it's Mortal Kombat in their brains. Number two, if you have one real friend, just one who tells you the truth, who doesn't clap when you fail, who says, let's fix it, instead of I told you so, you've hit the friendship jackpot. That person is rarer than a fully charged power bank during a blackout. Hold them tight, not physically, though don't scare them. Number three, if your parents are still alive and they actually check on you, or even annoy you with calls, have you eaten? Why didn't you text me back? I saw your photo, are you okay? My dear, you are living in gold. Some people would trade all their data, their phone, even their favorite blanket, just to hear one more nag from mama or papa. Number four, if you wake up with energy and no mysterious body pain, you are luckier than someone who found free Wi-Fi with no password. These days you can wake up and your back says, guess what, we're not cooperating today. But if your joints aren't making sound effects when you stand up, my friend, celebrate. Number five, if you have a roof, food, clean water, and privacy when you use the bathroom. Do you know what you have? You are operating on premium settings in this life. Some people are out there waiting 3 hours just to use a toilet that doesn't even have a lock. And don't get me started on people eating like royalty while others are calculating how to turn bread into dinner and dessert. Number six, if your heart still feels excitement over small things like a nice sunset, a call from someone you miss, or your favorite snack at the store, oh, you are emotionally rich. That means life hasn't hardened you. That means your soul is still alive. You're not walking around like a human fridge, cold, closed, and humming with bitterness. Because at the end of the day, if you've got even one of these signs, then don't wait for lightning to strike to feel lucky. You've already been struck by the beauty of real life. Peace of mind and good sleep are often taken for granted, yet they are some of the rarest luxuries in the modern world. In a time when everything around us moves at lightning speed, deadlines, notifications, endless scrolling, and mental overstimulation, the ability to rest peacefully at night has become almost mythical. People talk about success in terms of money, cars, designer clothes, and jet-setting vacations. But what use is all that if your mind is in chaos? If you lay your head down at night and your brain decides it's time to replay every embarrassing moment from the last 10 years, then you're not at peace, you're in a battle. So when you find yourself slipping into sleep easily, resting deeply, and waking up refreshed, don't underestimate that. That's not just normal, that's powerful. Peace of mind is not about having a perfect life. It's not about having no problems, no stress, or zero conflict. It's about knowing how to manage your internal world in spite of those things. It's that stillness in your chest when you've made peace with who you are. It's when you no longer feel the need to impress everybody around you, and you're not in competition with the world. It's the invisible armor that keeps you calm, while everything outside you seems to be falling apart. And this kind of peace doesn't come from external validation. It comes from deep self-understanding, healthy boundaries, and emotional maturity. You don't get peace of mind by accident. You get it by working on yourself, choosing healing over drama, and learning when to speak and when to stay silent. Now, when you combine peace of mind with good sleep, that's a recipe for freedom. Real, internal freedom, because good sleep is not just about being tired. Plenty of people are exhausted, and yet they still lie awake at night. Their bodies are drained, but their minds are racing. Regret, worry, future scenarios that haven't even happened yet, all of it playing in a loop like a bad movie you can't pause. So, if you're able to drift off to sleep without tossing and turning, if you're not haunted by yesterday's mistakes or tomorrow's fears, you're doing better than you think. The truth is, peace of mind is rare because the world is noisy. And not just externally, it's noisy inside people too. Insecurities scream louder than compliments. Doubt whispers in the dark when no one is watching. We compare our lives to filtered highlights online and wonder why we feel behind. The constant pressure to be more, do more, achieve more, it robs people of their calm. That's why, when someone reaches a state where they're genuinely content, where they're not constantly anxious about the next step, it's a big deal. It means they've detached from the chaos. It means they've found something deeper. Think about this. Some of the wealthiest people in the world spend thousands, even millions, trying to buy peace of mind. They hire therapists, life coaches, spiritual guides, and book retreats in the mountains just to feel calm for a few days. Yet, there are people with simple lives, modest homes, average jobs, and no fame who sleep soundly every night. Why? Because peace isn't about possessions. It's about perspective. When your values are in place, when you know what truly matters to you, you stop losing sleep over things that don't. You stop chasing approval and start chasing alignment. Some people fall asleep easily because their conscience is clear. They're not out here manipulating, betraying, lying, or living a double life. They live honestly even if it's not flashy, even if it's not always easy. That inner honesty creates a lightness in the heart. No guilt dragging you down, no shame eating at you, no secret life keeping you up at 2 a.m., just peace, and that peace allows rest. Not just physical rest, emotional rest, mental rest, soul-level rest. The kind of rest where you wake up and feel light, like your spirit took a deep breath while your body slept. And peace of mind doesn't always mean quiet surroundings. You can be in the middle of a noisy household, a chaotic city, or a tough phase of life, and still be calm within. That's what real peace is. It's not about external silence, it's about inner stillness. It's the ability to go to sleep knowing you're not at war with yourself, that your intentions are pure, your efforts are genuine, and your heart is in the right place. And that even if things didn't go perfectly today, you still deserve rest. In relationships, peace of mind means you're not always wondering if someone's words are real. You're not second guessing their love or walking on eggshells around them. That security adds to your rest. It makes it easier to let go of the day when you know you're not entangled in unnecessary emotional games. When your relationships are drama-free, your pillow feels softer. When your boundaries are respected, your breath flows easier. When you're not trying to prove your worth every minute, your muscles relax deeper. The body responds to peace, not just the mind, and sleep is the ultimate reset. It's your body's way of cleaning up the stress, healing the wear and tear, and recharging your emotional battery. But sleep doesn't happen well when the mind is cluttered. So peace is the key. And that's why when you see someone who's always glowing, always present, always grounded, don't assume it's because they have everything. Often, it's just that they have peace. They've made peace with their past. They've stopped fighting battles that aren't theirs. They've let go of toxic expectations, and that lets them sleep at night. That gives them that rare glow, not from a product, but from a deep well of calm inside. If you're someone who doesn't dread the night, who isn't afraid of your own thoughts, who doesn't need 3 hours of distraction just to fall asleep, then you're doing very well. You may not realize it because peace of mind is invisible. You can't flex it on Instagram. You can't post it. But its effects show up in your life, in your reactions, in your choices, in your relationships, in your health. Peace is quiet, but it is loud in its impact. You'll know you have peace of mind when you stop needing to be right all the time, when you're okay letting people misunderstand you, when you don't chase arguments or feel the need to explain yourself to everyone. That kind of peace is maturity. It's freedom from ego. It's the quiet confidence that you don't need to defend your truth because you know who you are, and that truth makes your bed softer. It calms your heartbeat. It brings the kind of silence that heals. So yes, you are lucky if your nights are quiet. You are lucky if your sleep is deep. You are lucky if your mind is not a storm. You are lucky if you are not tormented by the past or terrified of the future. Because in a world full of stimulation, peace is rare. And if you have it, even a little bit of it, you are walking in wealth that most people are still desperately searching for. One genuine, truthful friend is one of life's rarest and most valuable treasures. In a world where social media can trick us into believing that quantity is more important than quality, people often mistake a high number of followers or contacts for real connection. But deep down, we all know the truth. You can be surrounded by a crowd and still feel completely alone. That's why, when you have even just one person who sees you clearly, supports you fully, and tells you the truth, not to harm you, but to help you, you are experiencing a level of richness that many spend their whole lives searching for without ever finding. A real friend doesn't flatter you blindly. They don't tell you what you want to hear just to keep the peace. They hold up a mirror and help you see the parts of yourself that need growth. And they do it gently, out of care, not out of superiority. They're not trying to feel better than you, they're trying to be there for you. That kind of honesty wrapped in love is extremely rare. Most people either sugarcoat the truth to avoid discomfort, or they throw it in your face without compassion. But a real friend balances both. They speak truth with grace. They can look you in the eye and say, "You were wrong," and you still feel safe. You still feel respected, because you know they're not judging you, they're rooting for your betterment. This kind of friend is not just a cheerleader when things go right. They're also a witness when things go wrong. They see the messy side of you, the doubts, the fears, the insecurities, and they stay. They don't run when the conversation gets hard. They don't avoid you when you're not fun or easy to be around. They stick around through the silence, through the moods, through the mistakes. They understand that friendship isn't a performance. It's a commitment. It's showing up again and again, not because you're perfect, but because they care. There's something deeply powerful about knowing someone has your back in every season. Not just when you're winning, not just when you're glowing, not just when you're trending, but when you're tired, confused, or even acting out. That one friend who says, "I know who you really are." In moments when you forget yourself, that person is gold. They hold space for you to fall apart, to rebuild, and to evolve. They challenge you without condemning you. They forgive you without keeping score. They're not keeping tabs on who called last or who initiated what, because their presence is not based on ego. It's based on love. A genuine friend also sees your potential even when you're operating below it. They speak to the best version of you, not the version you've settled into because of fear or fatigue. They push you toward growth even when it's uncomfortable. And yes, sometimes that push feels like a nudge, and sometimes it feels like a slap of reality. But either way, it's done with care, It's not criticism meant to hurt you, it's honesty meant to elevate you. Because a real friend wants to see you win. They're not secretly competing with you. They're not waiting for you to slip so they can feel superior. They're not clapping when you fail. They're holding you up so you can keep going. You'll know the difference because a fake friend disappears when you struggle, but a real friend becomes louder in your silence. When you stop posting, when you cancel plans, when you withdraw into your own mind, that one true friend is the one who texts, calls, shows up. They notice your absence, not because they're nosy, but because they're present. They've learned your rhythms. They know when something's off, even if you don't say a word. That kind of intuition doesn't come from surface-level interaction. It comes from time, trust, and emotional investment. Some people go their whole lives surrounded by noise parties, social circles, fake smiles, and never experience one moment of real friendship. Because real friendship is quiet. It doesn't need to be posted or paraded. It's felt in small moments, like someone remembering how you take your coffee, or checking in after a hard conversation, or calling you out when you're selling yourself short. These are not grand gestures, they're signs of genuine care. A real friend is not trying to impress you, they're trying to understand you, and in that understanding, they create safety, the kind of safety where you can be fully yourself without fear of being judged, mocked, or abandoned. You'll also know a true friend by how they talk about you when you're not in the room. They defend your name, protect your image, and don't entertain gossip. In fact, they'll call people out for speaking on you negatively. That's loyalty, not the loud, dramatic kind, but the quiet, consistent kind. The kind that doesn't need to be proven because it's lived. A fake friend might laugh with you and then laugh at you with others. But a true friend holds your name sacred, and you can sleep easier at night knowing that someone like that exists in your corner. And let's not forget the power of shared history. A real friend has seen your evolution. They knew you when you were lost, awkward, uncertain, and they're still here as you bloom. They've seen the phases you don't post about. They've walked through your transitions, the heartbreaks, the risks, the quiet victories, and they never made you feel like you had to be anyone but yourself. That kind of continuity is rare. In a time when people come and go quickly, where relationships are often transactional, finding someone who stays without needing a reason is sacred. You see, real friendship isn't always comfortable, but it is always safe. You might fight, you might disagree, you might go through seasons of distance, but the connection doesn't break. Why? Because it's built on honesty, not convenience. You don't always have to agree, but you always return to respect. That's the foundation. It's what keeps the bond strong even when emotions get intense. Real friends know how to argue without destroying each other. They know how to express pain without cutting deep. And they know how to reconcile with humility. Another powerful sign of a genuine friend is that they celebrate your growth. They're not intimidated by your elevation. They're not secretly envious when you succeed. In fact, they brag about you to others more than you do about yourself. That joy they feel for you, that's real. It's not performative. It's not, wow, congrats, followed by bitterness. It's, yes, I knew you could do it, with genuine enthusiasm. That kind of friend feels like sunlight in human form. They reflect your light back to you when you forget how to shine. And perhaps one of the most beautiful things about a real friend is that they love you in all your versions. Not just the polished, filtered, doing well version, but the tired, overwhelmed, grumpy, unshowered, crying on the floor version, the version of you that isn't charming, that isn't easy to love, that doesn't have it all together. They love that version too, because their love isn't based on performance. It's based on presence. And when someone stays through the ugly moments, you start to believe that maybe, just maybe, you don't have to be perfect to be worthy of love. That realization alone is transformative. In a world where so many people are afraid of being real, where so much communication is filtered through apps and screens, where vulnerability feels risky, having one friend who sees you, really sees you, and chooses to stay. That's divine. That's not just luck. That's grace in action. That's life giving you a companion for the journey. And the older you get, the more you realize that you don't need many, you just need one. One person who makes you feel safe, seen, and supported. One person who tells you the truth even when it's hard, and stands by you even when it's messy. That one person, they're worth more than 1,000 acquaintances. So if you have even one friend like this, someone who speaks truth, holds space, challenges you, celebrates you, and doesn't disappear, then you are living with a kind of wealth that can't be measured in likes, money, or status. You are lucky, not just in the eyes of the world, but in the ways that truly matter, emotionally, spiritually, and humanly. Supportive, living parents are one of the greatest blessings a person can have, but this truth often goes unnoticed until life forces a moment of reflection. In the rush to become independent, in the pursuit of goals, careers, and relationships, many forget that having parents who are alive, and even more, who actively support you, is not something everyone has. It's not something to be assumed or overlooked. It's a quiet kind of wealth, a deep-rooted strength that often reveals its full value in moments of vulnerability, crisis, or celebration. Parents who are alive and present bring a kind of emotional anchor to your life. Even when they're not physically near, just knowing you can call them, hear their voice, or feel their prayers carries a power that's hard to describe. It's like having an invisible safety net. The world may challenge you, people may betray you, plans may fall apart. But the simple fact that you can turn to them, even just to hear, "It's going to be okay," changes everything. There's a comfort in that voice, in that tone, in that familiarity, that no friend or partner can ever fully replicate. It's rooted in time, history, and unconditional love. Supportive parents aren't just people who gave birth to you. They are your lifelong cheerleaders, the ones who have seen you in your rawest, most unpolished forms and never walked away. They celebrated your first words, your first steps, your smallest wins, and forgave your biggest mistakes. They loved you before you could speak, before you could repay anything, before you knew how to love back. That kind of love, if nurtured well, becomes the emotional foundation upon which your entire sense of self-worth is built. When parents believe in you, it makes it easier to believe in yourself even when the world doesn't. Having living, supportive parents means you have people in your life who are deeply invested in your joy, not because of what you can give them, but simply because you exist. Their happiness is tied to your well-being. Your success feels like their success. Your sadness brings tears to their eyes. That kind of bond doesn't need to be loud to be powerful. It often shows up in quiet gestures, a meal cooked without asking, a prayer said in silence, a message sent just to check in, a ride offered before you can say you're stranded. These are not dramatic expressions, but they are constant, dependable, and deeply meaningful. And it's not just about what they do, it's also about what they carry for you. Supportive parents absorb a kind of emotional burden that most people don't see. They worry about your future even when you're confident. They carry the fear of your pain even when you're pretending to be strong. They think about your well-being during their own chaos. Sometimes they cry in private so they won't burden you. Sometimes they sacrifice quietly so you can move forward. Their love is expressed in ways that don't make headlines but shape lives. Even when their methods are imperfect, and most are, because parents are human too, their intent is almost always rooted in love. Supportive doesn't mean flawless. It means they show up. It means they're trying, learning, adjusting. It means they're still holding space for your growth, even if they don't always understand your world. Maybe they don't know how to express everything with words, but they express it with actions, staying up late when you're out, sending money when they know you're struggling, cooking your favorite food when you're down, or just sitting next to you in silence because they know you don't need words, you need presence. Many people realize the value of supportive parents only after loss. It's when the phone no longer rings, when there's no one left to tell your news to first, when you come home and there's an empty chair. That's when the gravity of their role becomes real. That's when silence becomes louder than any noise. So if your parents are still alive and they're cheering you on, no matter how imperfectly, you are incredibly lucky. You are walking with a gift that millions are longing for one more moment of. Supportive parents also serve as a kind of compass. Their values, their sacrifices, their stories, these shape the way you view the world. They become the lens through which you make decisions, especially when you face crossroads. You may not always agree with them, but even your disagreements are evidence of their influence. Their voices echo in your choices, in your ethics, in your resilience. They become a part of your internal dialogue. And when that internal voice is kind, strong, and wise, it's often because a parent planted those seeds early on. Let's talk about presence. Sometimes people think support only looks like financial help, but it goes far beyond that. Emotional presence is one of the greatest forms of support. Having a parent you can vent to, cry with, be messy in front of, that is gold. Having someone who listens without judging, advises without controlling, and believes in you without conditions is rare. Their presence becomes a refuge, a space where masks drop, where the pressure lifts, where you can simply be. In a world where you're constantly asked to perform, compete, or pretend, their presence offers relief. And the role of supportive parents doesn't stop when you become an adult. In fact, it evolves into something even more profound. As you navigate the complexities of adulthood, relationships, work, identity, their wisdom becomes even more relevant. They've lived through cycles. They've seen seasons rise and fall. And while they may not have the exact answers for your modern challenges, they have patterns, instincts, and a deep well of lived experience that can guide you. They may say things that seem old-fashioned, but beneath those words are timeless truths. When they say, be careful who you trust, or money isn't everything, or health is wealth, they're not being cliché. They're passing down lessons earned through years of real life. Sometimes the support of a parent comes in the form of restraint, letting you make your own decisions, even when they disagree. It takes incredible strength for a parent to step back, to let you fail, to watch you take a path they wouldn't choose, all while staying available in case you fall. That's not weakness, that's wisdom. That's respect. It says, I trust you, even if I'm scared. That kind of support empowers independence without withdrawing love. It gives you space to grow without threatening the bond. And don't overlook the small details. The things they remember about you, your fears, your habits, your quirks, those are signs of deep attention. When a parent calls just because they had a feeling something was wrong, that's intuition built on years of loving observation. When they say, I knew something was off in your voice, it's because they've memorized your emotional rhythms. That kind of awareness isn't common. It's born out of time, care, and love that has watched you from your very first breath. There's also a silent kind of support that parents give, the kind that comes from simply existing. Their presence reminds you of where you came from. It grounds you. When the world tries to redefine you, to erase your culture, your roots, your values, your parents hold a mirror to your origin. They remind you of your identity, They remind you of your strength. They are the living link to your story, your lineage, your belonging. And when they speak your name, they say it with a weight and warmth that no one else ever could. Supportive parents, in many ways, become your first model of love. They show you what consistency looks like, what commitment looks like, what patience looks like. And yes, sometimes they fail. Sometimes they stumble. But if they keep coming back, if they keep choosing to love, to show up, to try again, that is support. That is rare, because real support isn't about being perfect. It's about being present again and again and again. And here's the truth. No matter how old you are, there's a part of you that will always need them. Maybe not for daily survival, maybe not for decisions, but for that deep human longing to be seen and loved unconditionally. That doesn't fade with age. It doesn't go away with success. In fact, the higher you climb, the more you might wish for their grounding presence. That one phone call after a big achievement. That proud smile when you finally make it. That hug that reminds you you're not alone, no matter what stage you're in. So if your parents are alive, and if they're supportive in words, in presence, in energy, take a moment to recognize that you have something truly sacred. Not everyone gets to grow up with love. Not everyone has someone clapping for them in the background. Not everyone has someone praying for them quietly every night. You are walking with more strength than you realize. You are being carried more gently than you know, and you are far, far more lucky than most people ever get to be. Waking up with a purpose in your heart is one of the most powerful, yet underrated, signs that you are truly fortunate. It's not something you can buy, fake, or borrow. It's not dependent on how much money you have, what car you drive, or how many people follow you online. It's something deep, internal, and invisible engine that propels you forward when the world tries to pull you back. Purpose doesn't mean you have every detail figured out. It doesn't mean you never feel lost. But it means there's a reason you get out of bed every morning, even when things are hard. And when you have that, you are walking with a light many are still searching for in the dark. There are people who wake up and feel like life is just a repeat of yesterday. Wake up, eat, work, sleep, repeat. Nothing drives them, nothing excites them, nothing gives them a sense that their life means something beyond survival. They may appear to be successful, dressed well, posting happy updates, attending events, but inside, there's a void, no fire, no direction, no real sense of why. So if you have even the slightest pull towards something greater, a dream, a mission, a calling, you are already living with a form of abundance that's more valuable than status or possessions. Because when you live with purpose, life starts to make sense in ways that money never could. Purpose isn't always loud. It doesn't always show up as some grand vision or dramatic moment of clarity. Sometimes it's quiet, a whisper in your heart, a nudge that won't let you rest, an idea that keeps showing up no matter how many times you try to ignore it. It might be a desire to help others, to tell stories, to build something meaningful, to protect the vulnerable, to express truth, to heal, to create. It might be tied to your gifts, your pain, your experiences, or all of the above. But once it takes root, it changes everything. You stop chasing distractions. You stop comparing your life to others, because you have your own direction. You're on your own path. When you have purpose, you move differently. Even your struggles start to feel less like punishment and more like preparation. You begin to realize that the hard things you faced weren't random. They were shaping you, refining you, building strength in you for the journey ahead. That doesn't mean the pain didn't hurt, it means it wasn't wasted. When you're living with purpose, even your scars begin to shine. You stop hiding them and start understanding them as evidence of what you've overcome. You see how your story can serve someone else. You see how your wounds can become wisdom. There's a certain kind of energy that comes with purpose. It gives you endurance that coffee can't match. It gives you clarity in chaos. It gives you focus when everything around you feels blurry. Purpose makes it easier to say no to what doesn't align, because you're no longer trying to please everyone, you're trying to fulfill your assignment. It gives you a filter. Not every opportunity is for you. Not every connection is meant to stay. Purpose becomes the lens that helps you prioritize, and that prioritization leads to peace, because now you're not living for applause, you're living for impact. Purpose doesn't remove obstacles, but it gives you the strength to keep climbing. It doesn't stop the criticism, but it helps you separate constructive feedback from empty noise. It doesn't prevent moments of doubt, but it gives you enough truth to keep going anyway. When you know why you're here, you become dangerous in the best way. You're no longer easily distracted. You're not tossed around by trends. You're steady, you're grounded, and in a world addicted to constant change, that steadiness stands out. Some people spend their entire lives looking for something to chase, but purpose isn't always found in what you chase. Sometimes it's found in what you commit to, the quiet consistency, the way you show up for others, the way you use your experiences to help someone else avoid a mistake, the way you turn your pain into purpose. Some of the most purpose-driven people don't have platforms. They don't have millions of followers. But they are making a difference, one conversation at a time, one decision at a time, one life at a time. Purpose is not about being seen. It's about being effective. And here's the beautiful irony: sometimes your purpose reveals itself after your most confusing seasons. You didn't know what it was when you were going through the heartbreak, the failure, the burnout, the disappointment. But now, on the other side, you realize those moments were divine setups. They broke you open so something greater could emerge. And now, because of what you lived through, you have clarity, you have empathy, you have depth. You can speak into someone's life in a way that surface-level people never could. That's purpose. It's built in the valley, not the spotlight. It's also important to understand that purpose evolves. What drove you 5 years ago might not be what drives you now, and that's not failure, that's growth. You're allowed to change. You're allowed to outgrow certain dreams. You're allowed to pivot. The key is to keep listening to that inner pull, that sense of calling, that quiet voice that says, there's more for you. When you have purpose, you stop settling. You stop tolerating environments that drain you. You stop shrinking yourself to fit in places that can't contain your calling. You rise. You stretch. You step into rooms you once thought were too big. And you realize you were never too small. You were just in the wrong space. Waking up with purpose doesn't mean every day is easy. There are still bad days, lazy days, days when you question everything. But underneath the noise, there's still a why. And that why becomes your anchor. It's what you come back to when motivation fades. It's what reminds you that your life has meaning, even when the results haven't arrived yet. It's what keeps you moving forward, not for the likes, not for the praise, but because you know you're building something that matters. And purpose doesn't require perfection. You don't have to wait until you have it all figured out to begin. You just have to start where you are. Use what you have, serve where you can, love who's in front of you. Share what you've learned. You'll find that the more you give, the more purpose flows through you. It's not about being the most talented or the most followed. It's about being faithful with what's in your hands. That consistency, that heart, that intentionality, that's where purpose thrives. People will question your path. They'll tell you to be realistic, to take the safe route, to follow the crowd. But when you have purpose, you don't need everyone to understand. You just need the courage to keep walking. You need the discipline to keep building, because purpose doesn't shout, it proves itself over time. It shows up in the impact you make, the lives you touch, the legacy you leave. And legacy isn't about fame, it's about influence. It's about how people feel after encountering you. Did they feel seen? Did they feel inspired? Did they feel loved? That's purpose in motion. There's something sacred about knowing that your life is part of something bigger. That you weren't just born to pay bills and die. That you were created to contribute, to add value, to bring light. And when you live like that, every step feels intentional. Even the detours start to make sense. You trust the process more. You stop rushing. You stop competing, because you know what's for you won't miss you, and what's not for you can't keep you. Purpose also fuels resilience. When you have a deep reason for doing what you do, you're less likely to quit when it gets hard. You're more likely to endure, to adapt, to evolve. Because your work is not just work, it's part of your mission. Your art is not just art, it's your voice. Your role is not just a role, it's a platform to serve. You begin to see your life through a lens of significance, and that perspective is priceless. There are people who would trade everything they own just to feel like they matter, just to feel like they're part of something meaningful, just to wake up and feel like their presence on this earth is not an accident. So if you have that, even if it's just the beginning of that, hold it close, nurture it, protect it, because it's more valuable than you think. And it's more rare than people admit. Most are still searching, still numbing, still performing, but you have a reason. That reason may be quiet right now. It may not be fully developed, but it's there. In your instincts, in your dreams, in that thing you keep coming back to no matter how many times life distracts you. Pay attention to it, feed it, speak life over it, because that purpose is your superpower. It's the fire that will outlast fatigue, the vision that will outlive setbacks, and the compass that will guide you home again and again and again.